afternoon. You tune into the second edition of Market Fatafat. I'm Mubina Kapasi. The markets, meantime, crumbling under pressure, and it's 0.5% lower. It looks like we've got into that sell-in May mode even before May could start. The Sensex is losing 155 points, and it's once again the broader markets that are underperforming the benchmarks. Let's then bring on board our team of research analysts as well as technical experts to take us through the big movers and shakers today in trade. And today we are joined by Soumya Sharma, Ashish Kyal from Wave Strategy Advisors, as well as Manav Chopra from Indiabulls Ventures as well, join in on the technical. So good afternoon to all of you, and let's start off with the number one mover in today's trading session, and without a doubt it's Yes Bank. After the catastrophic fourth quarter numbers which led to the big provision and the subsequent loss on the bottom line of more than 1,500 crore rupees, Macquarie and several other brokerage firms have actually downgraded. Macquarie, for one, however, has put in over there a double downgrade for the stock to an underperform target at 165 rupees, as they also say that the stress is still not over. The incoming CEO has already flagged off a large stressed pool. So this is just one step of the spring cleaning by Yes Bank of the asset quality, and that's Yes Bank for you, a 30% fall in the stock price in just today's trading session. Well, moving on to a stock that's fairly Alright, let's go across then in fact, we earlier interacted with Ravneet Gill, the CEO of Yes Bank, who joined us right here in the ET Now studios. Listen into what he had to say.
The option for us really was that we could have left a watch list out there or double B below names of 20,000 crores, asset portfolio of 20,000 crores, or then provided a more nuanced guidance in terms of what was the risk perception that we as a bank had around the 20,000 crores. So what we did was we did a very we did through a lot of diligence. We went across that portfolio, and we said that there was, out of the 20,000 crores, there was a 10,000 crore portfolio that could have potentially had issues. And then as a prudent measure, and also more importantly as a measure which was to create trust and transparency, we did a contingent provisioning of 20% on that pool. I think what has typically happened is that instead of viewing it in that sense, the market in some way sees this as a defensive, preemptive step on our part, because there have been cases in the past where banks have provided guidance and then it has turned out to be a lot wider. So I think that is number one, and we feel that the 200 basis points credit cost guidance that we have provided to the market, we feel very comfortable that we'll come within that. The second is that just because we are being conservative and we are being prudent does not mean that Yes Bank is at a standstill right now. It's a bank that was always known for growth. And the growth story as far as the bank is concerned is absolutely intact. There are lots of our businesses right now which are growing at the high 30s, 40s, 40% effectively. If I look at the retail book, if I look at my transaction banking business, even the fee income there is growing very, very smartly. So I think it needs to be understood by the broader market that there are multiple levers that we have in terms of calibrating the growth, our growth numbers, and we remain exceedingly growth focused.
Okay, well, moving on to the next big mover, and that is Tech Mahindra. So much resilience seen in the IT space since the last couple of sessions. Whenever the market has fallen, IT has remained steady. Today is no exception. Tech Mahindra still continues to clock in gains in excess of 1%. Manav, what would be your recommendation here?
See, the prices have been on a good uptrend and has been continuously forming a series of high tops and bottoms, and Tech Mahindra is also on verge of a weekly breakout. Looking at the price and the momentum oscillators, we expect this rally to continue on the upside. One can expect upside target of 870 to be achieved in the next few weeks. On the lower side, 825 is an important support, and we recommend a buy on dips approach.
Okay, a buy on dips is what Manav is recommending. Soumya, L&T Finance, how are the numbers?
When talking about the net interest income, it saw an increase of 15% on a year-on-year basis. The PAT surged by over 105% to nearly 552 crore rupees. This NII growth was led by strong profits and a loan book growth of over 16%. The asset quality, both GNPAs and net NPAs for the company improved. As far as this profit increase is concerned, it was on account because of this company's focus on strategy of focusing on core business, and the focus book saw a growth of over 17%. L&T Finance today in its exclusive interaction with ET Now said that they put behind all the issues concerning the IL&FS, and in fact they've adopted a conservative approach when it came for providing for their IL&FS exposure. In fact, they say that they do not have any exposure as far as ADAG group is concerned. However, mixed set of numbers, the stock reacting and down by over 5.4% in trade today.
Okay, one fact that's really taking it on the chin is the IB group. Ashish, Indiabulls Housing Finance particularly is what I want to flag off. It's the top nifty loser after Yes Bank. Your view here?
Absolutely, there has been a very strong sell-up that we are seeing in this entire group, and Indiabulls Housing Finance is no different. The stock has continued to move sharply lower, and I think any pullback is going to be shortly. One can short the stock 694 as a stop loss and expecting a target of 640 on the downside.
Alright, so those are the levels you can watch out for from IB Housing. Now the entire ADAG pack as well is crumbling under pressure. This on account of the big downgrade from CARE for Reliance Home Finance as well as Reliance Commercial Finance. So from BBB positive, it's been downgraded to C. That's of course the big downgrade which is causing the stock prices of the ADAG names to crumble. Additionally, of course, what's putting pressure is the fact that Reliance Capital's Reliance Mutual Fund, several of its schemes does have exposure to Reliance Home as well as Reliance Commercial. So this certainly does not bode well for the investors of Reliance Mutual Fund schemes. And additionally, of course, you also have to keep in mind the news with respect to Reliance Capital that it may finally be willing to cede control of these two entities. So all of this is the big news around the ADAG group. Manas, IndusInd Bank is as well a big loser today in trade. What would you recommend?
The prices have reached its important support levels and is currently trading below its long-term averages. Looking at the volume setup, the recent decline has accompanied by above average volumes. I sense in the near-term perspective, we could see the selling pressure to continue on the upside. 1620, 1630 are the stiff resistance, and looking at the short-term trend analysis, we expect the lower targets of 1540 to be achieved. So at the short-term perspective, one should maintain a bearish stance and can expect lower levels.
Alright, pardon me, Manav, I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name. Stock number 7 then, Samya Hero Motocorp. This one still was okay when it comes to the margins, but still the stock is down.
Well, yes, talking about the numbers, the company saw a degrowth both in its sales and PAT compared to the last year. Then these sales and PAT were pretty much in line with our expectations. Talking about the margins, they dipped from 16% to 13.6%, but still were above the street estimates. Management, apart from this, has pointed out that they see near-term prospects for two-wheeler markets to be pretty weak. However, they expect this to pick up going in second half of FY 2020 on back of a festive season demand. Overall, they're estimating mid-single-digit growth in FY 20. Talking about the results, Jefferies has maintained the hold stance with a target price of 2,550 per share. They say that the numbers are pretty much in line, but Q1 of FY 20 to remain weak, and the company is hopeful of a better second half, but at the same time, there are concerns on the medium-term growth prospects, which is keeping them cautious, and the stock is under pressure on back of this, down by over 4%.
Alright, Ashish, today PSU banks as well are the big victims, declining. The sector in fact was declining more than 3%. One stock is Canara Bank. What would you recommend here?
See, Canara Bank has been moving in a very broad range. It has a very steep resistance around 300. We tried crossing multiple times above it, but it was back on the downside. So there is a possibility we might now move towards 245 levels, and one can use 257 at .80 as a stop loss.
Canara Bank languishing near the day's low. Persistent Systems came out with its numbers. Dollar revenue was down 2% on a sequential basis at a little over $100 million, and the profits were down 8% QOQ at 84.5 crore rupees. But the digital revenue managed to relatively do a bit better. The contribution as well from that part of the business did improve slightly. So that's, I think, a positive point on Persistent's Q4 numbers. The stock price has rebounded, and how from the day's low. It's now in fact flattish, only 0.01% lower. Manav, PVR today is at a new high. What would you make of this move seen on the theatre company?
See, the stock has been on a good uptrend, and recently after a good short-term consolidation, there has been a breakout on the daily chart, and the breakout is accompanied by good amount of volumes. Looking at the overall trend, the stock has been on a very good primary uptrend, and we expect further more up legs into the stock. On the immediate basis, we can expect the levels of 1850 to be achieved on the upside. On the lower side, 1750, 1740 are the important support clusters, and overall the stock looks bullish at the current levels.
Alright, well, moving on to an ET now exclusive. We flagged off earlier about how the Indiabulls housing groups, Indiabulls group, are losing in trade. One such stock is Indiabulls Realty, where my colleague Nayantara Rai has picked up a story from her sources. Nayantara, over to you.
This is the big ET now exclusive. Promoters of Indiabulls Real Estate have given the mandate to EY to sell their stake in full or partially. I'm being told by my sources that the asking price is 250 rupees a share. This is against the last trading price of Indiabulls Real Estate of 125 rupees a share. So just see the kind of premium that is being sought by the promoters, convinced that there is underlying asset value. Look at the developed commercial real estate portfolio, the portfolio of commercial real estate that is currently under development, and of course the residential real estate as well. I'm also being told there are 5 contenders in the fray. There are 5 that are in the race right now, and they include DLF, Blackstone, Brookfield, Godrej, as well as Shapoorji. But sources indicating that the contenders are not willing to pay 250 rupees a share. They believe the fair price is perhaps in the region of 175 to 180 rupees a share. Having said that, the promoters have all options on the table, sources say. That means they can fully exit, partially exit, or even sell piecemeal different assets to different contenders. I believe that is perhaps one of the most practical options that are on the table, and a lot of the interest in IBREL has to do with its commercial real estate portfolio. So let's see how this story unfolds. Remember, all of this being done so that Indiabulls can meet its ambition of having a bank. It has announced a merger with Lakshmi Vilas Bank, but it has not applied for an approval from the Reserve Bank of India. The central bank regulators conservative approach to real estate are very well known, and that's why the promoter is looking to exit this business.
Was the ET now exclusive. Now moving on to a pack that's really managed to surge in trade, especially in the last 1 hour. Ashish, the metal space is buzzing. JSW Steel among them. Your view?
Absolutely, the entire metal space has been on the positive side after the Tata Steel strong outperformance, and we are seeing it very across. JSW was also consolidating for some time and has now given a strong positive breakout. So I think it can head towards the level of 318 over short term. So long positions can be created. One can use the stop loss of 293.50 for the target of 380.
Alright, JSW Steel 2.8% higher. Everready Industries is one stock that's beaten out of shape, and it's not just the move seen today, but for the last 8 trading sessions in total. It's plunged almost about 20%. It's locked in lower circuit right from the time trade has opened, and it's at the lowest level since October 2014. Now, India Ratings Agencies has downgraded the company's long-term credit rating with a negative outlook. In fact, they've also said in a press release that the downgrade reflects Eveready's continuous high net leverage and weakened liquidity amid continuous financial support extended to group companies and amid delayed asset monetization. And it also reflects delays in deleveraging, which will further impact the company's credit metrics and liquidity. So this is, of course, the note from India Ratings, and the stock price is taking it in the chin. So, Kotak Bank, in fact, we are expecting the numbers any time now. What should we watch out for?
Well, as far as net interest income is concerned, we expect a jump of over 20% to nearly 1,905 crore rupees, while for the PAT we expect an increase of 23% to over 1,380 rupees on a year-on-year basis. As far as NIMs are concerned, we expect them to be stable with an upward bias, and we expect other incomes at around 12% compared to last year. We're also seeing that healthy fee income would be growing and overall asset quality to be stable, pretty much stable for Kotak Bank. But at the same time, we're also looking at management commentary on the progress on mandated reduction in its promoter stake sale. What's the growth outlook from here on, and what's the asset quality, margins and CASA trends that the company is seeing for the coming months? Lastly, what's company's stressed asset resolution at the system level? So the stock gaining by marginally by over 0.7%. Let's see how the numbers come out when they do.
Alright, well that's Kotak Mahindra Bank. Let's talk about Cholamandalam Finance, which has released its Q4 numbers. All in all, the numbers were not that bad. We had the NI and profit figure that actually disappointed. It was below expectations, but asset quality was better and the provision figure as well decreased. In fact, the provision figure was down 42% on a sequential basis, whereas asset quality improved. So we had the gross NPA figure, which compressed from 2.8% to 2.3%, and the net NPA figure fell from 1.5% to 1.1%. So not bad at all for Cholamandalam. But the stock price, of course, is down by 1.7%. Continuing with more result reactions then, Soumya, Supreme Petro, how are the numbers?
Well, talking about Supreme Petrochem, the results were actually not that great. In fact, we saw that the PAT was down by over, the PAT was down by over 6%, while the sales dropped by over 7.4% to nearly 822 crore rupees. Well, let me tell you, the stock in fact has been falling for the past few days, and it continued its downward trend by dropping by over 0.6% even today in trade on the back of these weak results. So the street is not really taking positively what the numbers came out.
Alright, continuing with the countdown then, and Castrol has delivered its numbers. All in all, even though the numbers were bad, the external operating environment was a bit tough. So it's been okay. Margin, very little compression. The expectation was of more, but yeah, on that front as well, it was okay. So revenue from operations declined a little over 5%. Profits were down 12.7% at 185 crore rupees, and a very small margin expansion of only about 30 basis points on a year-on-year basis. The stock, however, still declining more than 1%. Manav, today PNB Housing is seeing quite a crack. You as well have a bearish stance here?
Yes, in fact, the prices have been in a downtrend since quite some time now, and continuously, as the price decline, it's breaking its important support levels. Even at the current zone, the overall parameters and the indicators are still hinting that, there could be some further downside into the stock, and recent decline has accompanied by above average volume. So net, looking at the overall structure, it's still looking quite bearish. On the upside, 730 is an important resistance, and we continue to see selling pressure on the immediate basis. 680 could be the levels that that PNB Housing could see further declines towards.
Alright, 680 rupees is the target, and yeah, clearly Manav has a bearish stance. Ashish, Blue Star, how does that look at this point of time with the rise we've seen in the stock price, 3% higher? Your view?
See, Blue Star looks overall positive because the current price has probably taken out many of the highs of the previous days, and closing is going to be crucial. It's going to be important. However, one can create long position using a strict stop loss of 663, and we can expect it to retest the highs of 780 levels on the upside.
Alright, Blue Star is higher by 2.9%. More result reactions then. Orient Cement has delivered its numbers. Not bad a set of numbers, especially when you look at the margin performance. But yeah, revenues have gone up 21%. That's impressive. The profit figure as well has jumped almost 4.5 times. It was at around 12 crore rupees. Now it's jumped up to 68 crore rupees. So not bad at all on that front as well. And more importantly, at a time when cement companies' margins are particularly precarious, especially when you look at ACC, Ambuja as well is expected to come out with its numbers. Orient has actually been able to do very well over there. So from 12% in the corresponding quarter, it's jumped 800 bips. So great performance over there, and rightly so, the stock price as well is smartly gaining. Manav, Z as well is a stock that's managing to stay very resilient despite the fall in the markets. Your view here?
See, in fact, the prices are bouncing from its important support levels, and there has been a good amount of consolidation in the near-term perspective. Looking at the immediate basis, 415 are the important support. So, on the immediate basis, we expect this breakout to happen on the upside, and we expect a short-term retracement rally towards the levels of 440. So, for a very short-term perspective, one can maintain a buy on dips approach and a stop loss of 410 on the lower side.
All right. Let's talk about another result reaction. Samya, how are the numbers for Trends?
Well, for Q4, revenues for the company were gained by over 26.5% compared to the last year. Talking about the bottom line, it saw a growth of 37% to nearly 15.95 crore rupees. Well, this was supported by a growth of 26% in the total income. Talking about the results, its chairman Noel and Tata said that led by the own branded offer, Westside has continued to perform well and has seen the opening of 27 new stores, the maximum compared to any previous year. In fact, the stock is today gaining by over 0.6%, although off from the day's high, but still gaining by over 0.6%.
Okay. Ashish, Balrampur Chini, we've seen increased traction in some of these sugar names. Balrampur Chini, for one, is I think at a 52-week high. What would you make of the move?
Absolutely, the entire sugar space has been on a positive tone, and Balrampur Chini, especially after forming a low near the zone of around 100-105, has continued to impulsively rise. So the overall outlook remains positive. One can create long positions, keeping the stop loss of 146.70, and we can expect it to move towards the level of 159 over short term or probably higher.
Okay, moving on then, and we have MCX, which has had a spurt of positive news coming in. First up, of course, it's got to do with the numbers which were delivered last week. Good set of numbers, in fact a nice 78% jump witnessed in the profits as well, so not bad at all. But additionally, we did have the news with respect to the commodity indices and the PMS participation guidelines, which are expected as well. Do remember that they are waiting for the approval for commodity indices in the SEBI's next board meeting, and this is going to be important news and important business segments as well for MCX that will open up. Add to that good news is JP Morgan buying around 2.5 lakh shares at a price point of 826.5 rupees per share. So, spate of good news for MCX. Let's see for the next SEBI board meeting if they do get the approval for the commodities indices. Manav, USL as well as today seeing some green on the screen. In fact, a lot of these liquor stocks are buzzing smartly. What's your view?
So the prices are trying to take support near its important monthly and weekly support zone. It has the important support levels are around the levels of 540, 545 on the lower side, and we've seen a good base formation at the current levels. On the immediate basis, the resistance for the stock is at 560, and once if it exceeds and manage to close above that, we can expect a swift rally towards the levels of 600. So in all, looking at the current formation, I think one can continue to maintain a bullish stance and maintain a buy and dips approach into the stock.
Moving on then, Soumya, what's the news on e-clerks?
Well, the board in its board meeting have come out with the buyback details. They've decided to buy back over 17.5 lakh shares at the price of 1500 per share, and the total buyback size would be not exceeding 262 crore rupees. Well, that's what's keeping the stock buzzing today. Although off from the day's high, it's still trading in green and is up by over 1.1%.
Okay, moving on then, Ashish, the Dar Realty space had been buzzing for some time, but today it's one of the top losers. Prestige Estates as well taking a bit of a breather today.
Yes, absolutely. Because it has formed the double top near the zone of 285, 286, and from there it is tracking back on the downside. There is a possibility it will again move towards the downside of the range, which is around 240 to 242 levels. So one can initiate short position, keeping the stop loss of 262.65 and expecting a move around 242.21.
Alright. The next stock we're flagging off is Garden Reach Shipbuilders. Now, it's a stock we don't talk about very often, but it has entered into a contract with the Ministry of Defence with the Government of India for construction and delivery of 8 ASW Swallow water crafts at an estimated cost of 6,300 crore rupees under a fixed price basis. So, it's certainly a very big order that Garden Reach has managed to win. Do remember, it was a recently listed company and now it's at 102 rupees. Okay, I think with that we are unfortunately out of time, so we'll have to wrap it up right here. Manav as well as Ashish, thank you for joining in and sharing your technical strategy. Soumya, to you as well. Coming up next is Closing Trades.